I'm joined by Asa Butterfield. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
What attracted you, to starring in this kind of very real, challenging film?
As you said, it was a challenge, and I think I can speak for most actors when they say they want to perform in a role that will push them and will challenge them and will take them to a character which is unlike one they've done before, and this was all of that, and gave me the opportunity to really do something special, and I really hope I've done it justice. Well, I spoke to lots of young people who had Asperger's, and I went to a school that catered for children on the autistic spectrum, and spoke to the young people and asked them about the difficulties they had when they were growing up and some of the problems that caused, and tried to take all of this information I was getting to develop this character.
Your character Nathan finds comfort in numbers and in maths. How true is this to you, and have you improved your math skills since starring in the film?
I've improved a little bit. I was never particularly good at maths. I was alright, but it's definitely gave me a chance to hone my skills somewhat, which was fun, but I'm not a massive maths buff.
In the film, obviously, when you go off to maths camp, there's quite a large group of boys there, and the dynamic between some of those, you guys as characters in the film is quite interesting. And what was that like, both sort of off-screen, on set, working with them?
Well, we all got on so well. I think the whole cast really bonded very closely, and as you said, especially the younger cast, all got on so well, and being able to work with them was a great experience. And both on set and off set, we had a lot of fun. Yes, we were working, but we had a good laugh while we were doing it.
You want to play those roles of conflicted people that have something that they want to disguise inside themselves, and people that are in turmoil, because we all are in some way, whether it means that we've got MS or it means that we've got something that means that we are unable to relate to people in a certain way. Everyone has that, and some people do better jobs of hiding it than others. So that's just representing the human condition in an extreme form, and that's what I'm lucky enough to be able to make my living out of doing. So it was really nice.
Yeah. You also had a relationship with a character Sally played in Constellations in 2012. What was it like working with her again?
She's not only, in my opinion, the best actress in the world, but she's one of my great friends. I adore her. Sounds like such a sort of lovely, actory thing to say, but I really genuinely do. So I'm really, really proud to work with her on something that I'm so proud of, and I love her very much.
What do you hope people take out of it?
I hope people laugh and they cry and they see the world in a different way for at least 10 minutes. That's all you can ask for from any bit of art, really. A book, a film, a play, a painting, is if you walk out of seeing whatever you've just seen and you see the world through different eyes. That's a really wonderful, rare thing, and I hope that we've got some way towards that now.
It was so beautifully seen, and I didn't find it patronising. I thought it was very inspiring, and you can relate to it, as any child could relate to it, whether they've got Asperger's or on the spectrum. So I just found it very inspirational, really, and beautifully told. The script was just amazing. Morgan is incredibly clever and really cares. He really cares about his subject matter and his subjects, and that's probably because he's been with them and come from living with them. So yes, that was so valuable to us to sort of tap into, and seeing the difference. It was his first sort of foray into feature film making, so that was quite exciting.
What was the journey like and the experience like from going from documentaries to a feature film?
Well, it was interesting and challenging. I mean, it's both different, but there is also a lot of crossover. Essentially, as a documentary maker or a fiction filmmaker, you're still telling stories, and so there's a lot of commonality in the experience. And actually working with actors, I didn't find enormously different from the experience of working with people in the documentaries that I've made. But obviously, it's in terms of the scale, it's very different. I mean, when I make documentaries, I may be one person with a producer, an assistant producer, maybe a 3-person crew. When you're making a fiction, you've got a 40-person crew, you've got trucks, you've got extras, you've got the whole works. So the scale of production is very different.
What made you decide to make a film about a maths prodigy, which isn't, I guess, the most the first thing somebody would think of, and B, somebody on the spectrum?
Well, I mean, because I had an experience. I made a film 8 years ago, a documentary called Beautiful Young Minds, which was the story of a young man, a group of teenagers on their way towards the International Mathematical Olympiad, which is kind of like an Olympics for maths for young people. And the people that I encountered on that journey, they were so extraordinary, and I was so fascinated by them that they always kind of stayed with me, that experience. And I always felt that they almost existed on a kind of different plane to the rest of us, but they were at this period in their lives which was actually quite challenging, because they were going through adolescence, so they were going through a lot of changes, but also a lot of their peers who weren't from the Olympiad world didn't really understand them, gave them a hard time, sometimes ostracized them, sometimes bullied them, partly because of their gift and because of the fact that they were different. And if they were on the spectrum, then that sometimes made some of those differences more pronounced, and so they experienced more difficulties. And so it was a time when it was quite challenging for some of them, not all of them I should say. But that for me made it an interesting time to be with them, because I also felt these are the people who ultimately are going to be shaping our future. They have this incredible ability. They're going to be doing brilliant things in the future, but at the moment they're finding life quite difficult.
The film ends quite untypically. It isn't a happy ever after ending, and I don't want to give away too much of the film to the listeners. The ending is obviously still happy, but it isn't necessarily what you'd expect from an ending. Why did you decide to end the film that way?
Well, I think, in terms of what people expect from an ending, this for me, without giving the ending away, it's quite difficult to talk about it without giving it away. But I think the point is that this is really Nathan goes on a journey. What he thinks is important to him and what is actually important to him are two different things. And at the end, he realizes what actually is important to him, and he realizes the problem that he needs to solve, or maybe the problem that he needs to solve he'll never be able to solve, but he needs to do something about it. And that's what he realizes at the end. And it's actually a relatively, in life, it could be classed as a small step, but for Nathan it's a very big step, and it's a very big decision that he makes. And actually the changes and the repercussions of that will be felt for him for the rest of his life.